Brian VANDUYN here. For those of you that are new to the channel, today I kind of want to talk about some of the steps you got to, take to start your dump truck business. Some of the steps that I took, you know, and maybe some things that you could probably, not worry too much about when you're starting your dump truck business. I would say one of the most important parts to running a dump truck business is if you're not going to hire employees right out the gate to do the work, then you have to have a CDL, a commercial driver's license. What's up, Ryan? House is coming along good. All the people that are supposed to be working on it are on vacation right now still. So I would say the first thing you want to make sure, in your plan to start your business, you got to get a CDL. And depending on what type of dump trucking you want to do, is going to determine what kind of CDL you need. Like if you're in Washington and you want to drive a side dump, then you have to have a Class A. If you want to drive a super dump, all you need is a Class B. If you want to drive a solo, Class B, but if you ever want to get a pup trailer for it, you better have that Class A doubles. So, some things to think about. You can get by with a Class B license for a long time, but, long term, you're going to need that Class A, mainly because you're going to get a trailer eventually. I mean, everybody gets a trailer. Like, whether it's an equipment trailer or a pup trailer you know, or you just need to move one of your customers' pieces of machinery and they got a trailer, you know. So I would say that's pretty important is just getting your Class A. Another thing that you want to look into, start looking into it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to figure it out, but when you go on to the FMCSA website and you apply for your DOT number, that was kind of a nightmare for me. Like I'm just a dumb redneck, and those websites are not user friendly for people like me. I'm not too computer savvy. I struggle with reading government jargon, government forms. I absolutely hate reading that stuff because, like, a lot of the words, you don't even know what the words mean, so you're just trying to interpret it, and you almost have to be a lawyer, you know? Um, and one of the mistakes I made when I first started was I applied for the DOT number, the MC number, the freaking the broker. Like I applied for all that stuff. I ended up having to pay like $300 or $400, you know, and I didn't need any of that stuff. All I needed was just the DOT number, right? I didn't need an MC number. I didn't need the broker, you know, and a lot of you guys are probably not going to need that junk either, right? And then something that you're going to find out as soon as you submit the paperwork to get your DOT number, dude, your information becomes public to like a million scammers, like a million, like literally maybe 2 million. I don't know. But there's so you will get so many calls from businesses, DOT, and their company names look so official. It is just scary. It's like DOT compliance, or anyways, they kind of try and scare you into using their services. Like they want you to file a MC 150 form or whatever. It literally costs you, I think, like $20 if you fill it out yourself, and it asks you simple questions, very simple. You should be able to understand, you know, for the most part, you know, the stuff on the form. But they want to file the form for you, and they want to charge you $150 to file a $20 form, or it's that type of stuff. And then they're like, oh, you know, you have to be a part of the consortium, which is you put your name into a business and they will call you for randoms, like for uh, UAs, drug testing, that type of stuff. And you'll have companies advertising to you for that. You'll have companies advertising for, oh, we have a safety. The FMCSA requires that you have the safety procedures or something like that, and all your employees have it, and this and that, and so you're like, oh crap, do I really need this? And it's just a bunch of stupid nonsense that you don't even need to run your business. Van Dyne coming on a scale with a repeat. And so they'll try and scare you into using their business. And some of them have valid, businesses that actually do provide a good service that you actually need or want, you know. But like 99% of them. Yeah, I was debating about it though. Yeah. This was probably the last one because the job site is just getting loaded and they can't really keep up with 3 supers on it. I had to sit there for 20 minutes, so. Yep. Yeah, no. Not when I don't get paid by the hour. All right, yep. This job site I'm hauling on, we're hauling this organic soil to a school. It's for they have like these drainage trenches that they're gonna plant. I'm sure they're gonna plant like cattails in it or something, but they need a specialized dirt for it because cattails won't grow in any type of dirt. Like, come on now. So when I got here this morning, they didn't have any of it. So we had to sit here for an hour and a half while the plant made some. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm going to eat some beef jerky. A bag of beef jerky 4 years ago was like $10. Now it's like $16. Getting out of hand. Pretty soon it'll be $50 for a bag of beef jerky. Okay, so that's one thing that was very nerve wracking to me. As soon as I got the DOT number, I had all these companies harassing me. And when I say harassing, that's like an understatement. Like it was like non-stop. Because I took one of the calls, I took two of the calls, and tried to figure out if their business was valid or if they were trying to scam me or whatever. And never take any of their calls. Whatever you do, never answer it. Never answer their text messages. Because as soon as you respond once, they will sell your information to every single other guy, and they will harass you till the day you die. I still get DOT compliance calls 5 years in. Oh, this is DOTcompliance.com, or this is I don't know. They make up names that sound so official and government, you know. Outbound at the fish culvert, outbound at the fish culvert. So that was one of the things that, you know, when you're starting up your business, you do want to have a DOT number right away, right? You're gonna have to pay your 2290, which is a heavy use tax form, at least in Washington. And so that is based on how much weight your truck can haul, right? If you're looking at triaxle and you want to haul 15 tons, you want to haul 56,000, then you got to pay the heavy use tax. You got to fill out the tax form, the 2290, and then you got to send that off, right? The website I use trucknews.com. They fill out the 2290 for me. I just pay them like 20 bucks or whatever it is. It's very cheap. They file it with the IRS, so I don't have to do that. And then you get like the form, the 2290. It has like a little water seal mark on it. You'll need that. Outbound dumpster corner. You'll need that. You'll need a 2290 for paying for your licensing and your registration, because they want to know how much you're hauling. Um, Insurance. That's something you're gonna have to get. You know, when you're starting your business, that is one of the things I would put off until the last second. I would put it off till the ultimate last second, because insurance, they will never pay you money. All they do is take your money, and they take obscene amounts of it, right? Especially your first year. They're going to rape you your first year. I mean, that goes without saying. They're going to charge you 10 grand, 7 years or something like that. They still raped me my first year. 10 grand for insurance for one truck. Like, that is just ludicrous. Mind you, that's for 1 million in insurance for a dump truck for hire. There's ways to get cheaper insurance too. Sometimes, like, I notice excavation companies, like, if they claim that their truck is not for hire, like if they only use it for their jobs, they'll get a lot cheaper rate for insurance. But, I don't know how that works. Is if you're hiring your dump truck out and you get in a wreck or something, and they say, "Oh, were you working for yourself or were you out for hire?" Oh, we can't cover that. Like, the insurance companies will weasel out of any payments. They're just weasels. There's no other word to describe an insurance company other than weasels. Weasels, snakes, friggin' thieves, honestly. Okay, so let's say you're working towards getting your dump truck, you got your CDL. One thing that you can work on when you're starting your business is learning the location of the gravel pits and the rock quarries and the asphalt plants, right? you're going to want to know where those things are. And like, for example, in Washington, um, there's quite a few of them that are not on Google. Like, you try to Google it, it ain't showing up. So unless you're following somebody there, you're never going to find it. Like, I mean, some of them are like that. So, if you could work for somebody for, at least, I would say if you could work for somebody for 6 months to a year, that would be realistically all the experience you would need to run your own business, in my humble opinion. Like, I started with no experience and I made it happen, but some people would not be able to figure it out, surprisingly. So just so you guys know, the reception is going to be really spotty in this section. Don't worry, we'll get through this section of road, and the service, the cell service will be good again. But just giving you a heads up, this part coming up, I always drop calls and it just gets really crappy. But hang in there. I got some more good information for you regarding starting your dump truck businesses. Then I would say one of the things you could do to prepare yourself is find out where the dealerships are that sell trucks. Find out where the parts stores are in your area, right? Find out where, uh, I would say the parts stores is a big one. Go into the parts stores that sell semi truck parts and look around and get used to the prices. Try and memorize the prices of things. Lights. You got to kind of familiarize yourself with the costs associated with a dump truck business, right? And one way to do that is go into the places that sell the parts and sell the stuff and talk to the people, you know, parts store. And let me tell you the way it works. If you know the guy behind the counter by name, he's going to give you better service than if you don't know the guy. I can guarantee you that. If you have an old dump truck and you're trying to find a part, you know, if you know the guy behind the counter, chances are he's going to put in a little bit more effort trying to help you find that part. He'll be looking into old books, instead of on the computer or, whatever. But go into those part stores, see what they have for sale too. You need to know what kind of things you can buy at a store and what type of things you're going to end up having to order off the internet, right? Uh, a lot of times when you're first starting, you don't have a big bag of money where you can just be like, oh, yeah, give me 5 extra lights, give me a couple of brake cans, a couple of brake lines, give me 50 feet of this 3-wire cable. You're not going to have the money. But you do need to know where you can get that type of stuff, right? Because it's going to save you money in the long run. Like, every time I go to a store, I'm always looking around and just visualizing what they have there and trying to remember what they have and roughly the prices of things. Because, if you're on the road and you have, let's say, a breakdown or something, you're going to know, okay, well, I'm 15 minutes away from this store, or I'm 30 minutes away from this one, but the one that's 30 minutes away is more likely to have the part. Boom, I can go there instead, And so get familiar with those places. Familiarize yourself with the stores that sell bolts and nuts, because I guarantee you, if you own a dump truck, you're going to be buying bolts and nuts because they vibrate loose
and or they get rusted to hell and you can't reuse them sometimes, and it's just way more efficient to just cut it off and put a new one in. So kind of familiarize yourself with that too. I would say that right there is one of the things that helped me succeed in my business was, doing all the maintenance and stuff on the truck myself helped me learn so much about how dump trucks really work and the costs associated with maintaining them and stuff. And, it doesn't cost you really anything to go to a parts store and see what they have for sale. See what they have on hand. I think they got this whole roadblock and they don't even have a flagger here. There's no road signs or anything. This guy's just parked in the middle of the road. At least he's on a big straightaway. You can see him. But the downside is I can't see. This guy needs some road signs and a flagger. This is ridiculous. This is not safe. This is not a busy road. This guy's VANDUYN. Dude, you need a flagger right there, man. He's blocking the whole lane, and it's almost blind. You can't even see oncoming traffic until you crest this hill. That's dangerous. So another thing you want to do is kind of familiarize yourself with the different types of services for the different types of dump trucks. You got to figure out what dump trucks are better suited for the type of work you're looking for. Like, for example, if you're going to be doing a lot of paving, asphalt paving, then you should definitely have, a truck that is equipped for asphalt paving. If you're going to go haul 2-man rock, you need a truck that's equipped for hauling 2-man rock. Right? So you got to familiarize yourself with the different trucks and what they're best for, right? And you got to find out what work is more prevalent in your area. Because it doesn't make any sense to go buy a truck that can haul 2-man rock, or like let's say an right? So a lot of what you're going to be doing depends on the area you live in. That's just the way it goes, right? You could have it end up out in the woods because you're going to be hauling stumps and stuff, or you could have, an aluminum bed on your dump truck. You're not going to be hauling anything bigger than 6, 7, 8 inches. Because if you do, it's going to ruin your box. So just kind of look into, write down on a piece of paper what type of work you see the most in your area. And if you see a lot of it going on, then you think, okay, well, there's demand for it. Right? If there's no demand for the work, then probably not the best idea. Right? Okay, another thing that you can do that's not going to cost you any money is you got to kind of learn about weights and roadways and the bridge laws and stuff, right? Because in CDL school, they really don't teach you about it. They didn't teach teach me bridge laws or anything like that. You know, they don't teach you about the distance between axes, spread. That's what they call it. It's called the axe spread, right? That's one thing that I constantly struggle with. Like, you know, when I go to look at buying a truck, I got to figure out, okay, what's the spread on this truck so I can figure out what it can legally haul. Because in one state, they may be able to haul 25 tons with the truck. Then you bring it over to Washington, and then they can only haul 15 because the laws are different, right? We have a very wet climate in Washington, so the roads cannot handle, 25 ton on a triaxle or on a tandem. It just ain't gonna work. And the roads would turn into a wave. You're driving down the road, you see the asphalt go like this. Like, so learn about the bridge laws and about the axis spreads. Learn about, the different types of trucks. That's something that's going to help you considerably in business. Another thing you could do is, and this is something I did, was I made a list. Like, I seen a dump truck. Oh, that's wall wrap. Okay, let me write that down. Oh, that's green skin. Or, oh, that's poreless or mild. Or, there's a ton of different other companies. And then if you can, kind of pay attention to what work they're doing. You're going to have to take somebody's work when you get a dump truck. That's the way it goes. If you want the work, you got to find somebody else for it. That's the way trucking goes. It's cutthroat out here. Don't be cutting your rates though, because then everybody will shun you. Don't do that. Word gets around if you cut your rates. So don't do that. Just charge what everybody else is charging, and just try and provide a good service. But write down the names of excavation companies. I had one of my buddies call me. He's been watching this channel for the past 5 years. He hasn't watched it recently, but we stay in contact a little bit. And he didn't buy a dump truck, but he's leasing it to own it, right? So he's kind of like rent to own, right? And he called me up. He's like, man, things are slow. And I said, dude, you need to get on the phone. Start calling around. That's the best way to find work, is start calling around. Hey, I got a dump truck. I'm looking for work. I got a dump truck. I'm looking for work. People are not going to call you your first year. That's usually not the way it works. They're not going to call you your second year. Maybe by the third year, you'll have enough customers where they start calling you and saying, hey, we got some work. Unless you're related to somebody, chances are very slim that they're going to call you. I've been in business for 5 years now, and, I would say my fourth and my fifth year, it's getting easier and easier to find work for me. I mean, my name's been out there so long, and, I've established a reputation that people trust, and, my name means a lot to people. They know when they see that truck, they're like, oh, that's VANDUYN. He shows up early, and he'll work until we scream at him to stop. Like, they know it, We will not quit until the job is done, And that's the reputation you want to, and you got to develop that reputation even before you start your business. right? Because the reputation you have going into business and the people that know you before going into business, they know your character. They know what type of person you are. And if you start a business but you're lazy when you're working for somebody, right? Let's say you're hauling for miles sand and gravel, and you're lazy, and all the contractors, they absolutely hate it when truck 33 shows up because they know who's driving it, and the guy runs over stakes, and he always wants to leave early, and he's always dilly dallying on his phone. They're gonna know you. They will know you, and when they need a truck, you're not gonna be the one that pops up in their head. This is something that you establish before you even start your business. Unless you're going into the business, 100% no experience, kind of like I did. Almost nobody in the dump truck world knew me, other than from my videos. And you can tell from the videos I'm a hard worker, right? So the perception that you develop before you start your business, you got to have a good perception, people. Be a hard worker in everything you do. And then when you start a business, everybody that knew you were roofing before, now they know you started a dump truck business, and they know you bring that work ethic with you. That's just one of the things, people will relate what your past experiences with them to what you're doing in the future. Okay? I would say another thing that you should do before you start your business is you should start, well, I kind of touched on it earlier, know the prices of things, know the cost of tires, and try and write out, do like a little fake budget on a piece of paper. I did this. I actually did this. When I was working, I wrote down on a piece of paper, I said, okay, these are my estimated costs. This is what I'm charging. I think, if it's golden, I'm going to work this many hours. I'm charging this much. What's the profit look like? What's my maintenance looking like? These are things you can do. You can just imagine and pretend, before you ever start your business. Those are things you need to be doing that stuff. And the more tight you are with your money, the more you look at it under a microscope, the better your business is going to do in the long term. If you really can look at it under a microscope and analyze every cost and every way to make money, you're going to be so much further ahead of the next guy. Because there's a lot of guys out there, they inherit some money. Oh, I'm going to buy a dump truck. They don't know what the cost of tires are. They don't know how tires wear. They don't know how fast they wear. They don't know how much miles per gallon the truck's getting when it's loaded or when it's empty. They don't know what the insurance is costing them yearly, and so they just kind of wing it. And, a lot of times those are the same guys that will go out and they'll have their tank taken off and polished. They'll go out and buy a whole bunch of chrome lug nut covers. They will go out and buy a whole bunch of extra lights and pay a mechanic to put them on. And then at the end of the day, a couple months in, they're like, well, flip, there's no money in trucking. And then they just give up and sell their truck. Well, it's like, yeah, there's no money in trucking for you because you blew it all on stupid stuff. There's a reason the saying chrome don't get you home is a saying, because it doesn't get you home. It doesn't pay the bills. Chrome does not pay the bills. Is it a bad thing? No, chrome's cool. Everybody loves chrome. But chrome ain't going to feed your family. That's the way that works. So the sooner you guys start writing stuff down on paper and analyzing your business, the better your business is going to perform. And then Another thing is, as soon as you start analyzing the cost of everything, that's going to make you better at bidding jobs. So when somebody calls you up, and this is something I'm still learning, like I have not bid a whole bunch of jobs. Usually I just go in by the hour. Like, hey, you're going to pay me this by the hour, or you're paying me this by the ton, you know? And I've had a couple times in the past where somebody's like, hey, I need you to move 600 cubic yards. What's it going to cost me? Get picked up here and get dropped off here. What's it going to cost me? You know? You got to, you know, these are things you got to practice and learn in your head, so you can give them a bid that you're gonna make money on. Like I just did a bid. Somebody emailed me up and they're like, "Hey, we need 650 cubic yards. Move is prevailing wage. Here's the address it's getting picked up. Here's where it's getting dropped off." And you know, give me a bid. And I said, okay. So I said 650 yards. Okay, if it's just my truck, that's 6.5 days. Okay, 8-hour days. 4 loads a day. Boom, done. 6.5 days. What would I normally get paid? Okay, I'm making $150 an hour, $155 an hour, $160 an hour. Times that by 8. You know, you get your hourly rate. And then what you do, if you're doing a bid, you say, okay, if traffic gets crappy, do I want to take the loss or do they want to take the loss? I don't want to take the loss, so I'm gonna charge more because they're asking me for a solid number, a bid number. That means we get to make more profit because we're taking more risk. So, you know, if you were to hire me by the hour, it probably would have cost them 12 grand, 13 grand. But since I'm doing a bid, I'm going to tell them 17,000. You know, so I'm going to take $4,000 more in profit because I'm taking the risk of if something goes wrong, then I'm staying after work to get it done. And it's just one of those things where, you know, you got to put in a buffer, you know, so you can make money. And they're happy knowing that it's a lot easier for them to budget because then they have a solid number to work for. They have a solid number to give the bank, and when they're doing a draw or financing it, it's so much easier for them to put their budget together. When a lot of these excavating contractors, they don't know how long it takes to move dirt. A lot of them can't even calculate how many yards are in a pile. Like, you look at that pile and say, oh, that's 200 yards. You know, a lot of those guys can't even figure that out. They don't know. You know, and that stuff comes with experience. You know, and you can just look at, I mean, I can look at a pile right now and say, oh, yeah, that's 60 yards right there. You know, it took me a couple seconds, but I looked down and I'm like, yeah, sizing it up. My dump truck is up to 20 yards. I know what that looks like. Okay, yep, 246, that's 60 yards. Okay, a lot of those contractors don't know how to size up volume. So they want their life to be made easy. And if you're going to go into business, if you learn how to do these things before you go into business, you know, on somebody else's dime, then you're going to be able to bid that much easier, right? So, because then you can tell them, okay, well, I'll just do all the math in my head, and I know it's going to cost me this, or this is what I would normally get paid, and then you just upcharge it. And then they can easily put that number in their budget and forget about it. And that's what they want to do. They don't want to have to be thinking, oh, truck 10 is taking too long. We're going to be losing money on this. We didn't bid it high enough. You know, they like to have that definite answer. You know, and I tried to stay away from that my first 2-3 years. I'm like, I don't do bids. I just do by the hour. But now that I've been learning, you know, and it's taken me a while to learn this because I'm not super fast at learning this type of stuff. Now I can just give them a number and say, hey, here's my number. You know, if you want me to move that pile, here's the number. And then I said, hey, they also asked me if I could have more than one truck on the job. I'm like, yeah, we can do more than one truck. Okay. And then I said, hey, well, what are you loading the trucks with? Oh, we're going to rent this machine. Oh, okay, so now in my head, I'm thinking, okay, how much does a loader cost to rent? It's going to cost them probably like $3,000 for a week, right? And then they got to pay a union operator prevailing wage. That's $100 an hour or something like that. So it's going to cost them 5,000-6,000 just to load the dirt, right? And here's where you make even more money, because then you say, okay, it's going to cost them to load it. I can load it for a little bit cheaper because I own my machine. I'm not renting a machine. So I said, okay, well, I got a 330. You know, I can load the trucks, and I have an operator. And you know, with move in and move out, $7,000 extra. So then, that's how you really start making an absolute killing with your dump truck business. Because then instead of you doing a job where you don't know what you're doing the next day, you don't know if you're working the next day, you start to learn the ins and outs of these job sites. Okay, what material are they using next? How much does it look like? You'll be able to look at a plot and say, okay, they're going to start moving the topsoil off, and then they're going to have to get their initial grades, right? And then they're going to be digging the sewers, right? So you're going to be bringing in pea gravel, and then utility sand, and you figure out, okay, I've been on job sites this big before. This is about how much they used, you know. So you start to calculate those numbers, and you can start to figure out, okay, this job's going to last 3 days. This job's going to last 4 days. It allows you to plan a little bit better, which means you can pack your schedule more. And the more productive you can be, the more money you can make, right? The more problems you can solve, the more money you can make. And then instead of you making, you know, $12,000 on a job and working for 1 week, because that's what it would have been. If they hired me by the hour, I would have worked, you know, maybe 3 days, maybe more if they hired more trucks or not. I don't know. If they didn't hire any trucks, I would have made $12,000. It would take me 6 days. But if they asked me for a bid, I say, okay, I know how much my truck charges. I know how much my buddy's truck charges. Let me do this bid, right? Okay, I'm going to hire my buddy because I want to get this done faster. I'm going to make money off my buddy's truck. I'm going to make money off loading it. And so you start to compound your profits, because now when you just have, you know, when you take it, oh, geez, I got nuts. I gotta break that next. Instead of making $12,000, I just turned a $12,000 job into possibly a $28,000 job. Because now I can drop my machine off. You know, it's all, the numbers are all done. You know, and on top of that, you made, you know, a whole bunch more in profit. And then think about it like this too. Not because you know what the numbers are, you know what people charge, you know how long it's going to take, because you've been practicing this and you've been figuring it out in your head. You can get that job done in 1 day or 2 days. You can hire 3 trucks or hire 4 trucks and have one on standby and still know that you're going to make money. So, you know, and then next thing you know, you did a job and now you got enough money to buy a whole new machine cash. You know? Okay, so I just got a question here. How do you find a broker to start with? That's a good question. You know, personally, I never went and searched for a broker. I didn't. When I first started my business, like I said, I just wrote down the names of businesses that I seen, and I was like, hey, this guy is using a dump truck. Tell that guy to take a hike and hire me instead. You know, you can find work somewhere else. I'll work for you. But one of the ways.
Hey, Brian, you got a copy?
Yeah.
I got a truck parked there, and nobody seems to know where the guy is moving.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's what I say. Why the hell would you park right here? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, right in the way of everything.
And nobody knows where the guy is.
Do you check to see if the key's in it?
Oh, I never looked.
Might be worth it. Okay, so one way to find brokers, like I suppose you could Google trucking broker in your whatever area you're in. That's one option. Another way to find a broker, if you live in an area where there are brokers, like
Yeah, they're in it. I don't know if I'm going to get in or move it. I don't want to get in trouble.
he gets paid by the hour. I know.
You think we should move it?
Heck yeah, we should move it. Park it out in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble for getting in there and moving the thing.
Yeah, just tell them I did it. As long as you don't hit nothing.
Well, that's just it. I don't want to be blamed for something, you know. Hey, did you get this patch for tomorrow yet?
Yeah, I got it. I didn't look at it yet, though.
Yeah, you might be doing what I'm doing tomorrow.
What are you doing?
Mercer Island.
Oh! That doesn't sound fun at all on a Friday.
No, not at all.
Friday driving up to Mercer Island. That's like a 3-hour, 2.5-hour drive. And then as soon as you dump out at the end of the day, wow, 5 hours to get home.
This is bullcrap. I'm going to go, I don't know, I talked to a couple people, nobody seems to know whose it is.
Well, if the keys are in, just go talk to somebody. Say, hey, I need you to move this truck. The keys are in it. Yeah, I would say one way to find a broker is you could call up dump truckers in your area and say, hey, what broker do you use? You know, because they're not gonna care. They're not
Yeah, I'll be back. I gotta go find somebody here to do it.
A lot of times they'll be like, yeah,
I wish there was a number for Greenscape, but there isn't.
Yeah, I was also wondering who I'm supposed to give the tickets to, too, you know? Like, who do we give them to? Or maybe they just don't want them.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think this is going to be my last load anyways. I feel like I'm done.
Well, at this rate, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they can't hardly make the material at the plant, and there's really no room to put it here on the job site. So it's like, well, nobody's here giving directions, so time for me to head home early.
I hear you. Yeah, let me know what you end up doing. Yeah, let me know if you end up going to Mercer Island.
Yeah, I'll let you know. So, yeah, I would say, you know, if you want to find a broker, probably go on Google. I'm sure they advertise for that. Or talk to local dump truck owners. Obviously, you're not going to go, or you could call up the big company and say, hey, who's your truck boss, or who dispatches the trucks? And you can start off looking that way for a broker. But honestly, if you're looking for a broker, you're not going to make any money. I got to be honest with you guys. You know, the guy that was watching my channel, you know, and he was leasing the truck, I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, I'm not making too much money, and you know, there's not a whole lot of work. And then through the conversation, he was like, oh yeah, and I'm getting paid every week, but they're taking 7% to pay me every week. And I said, 7%? Dude, they're raping you. 7% to pay you weekly? And he's like, yeah, but you know, they can pay me monthly and they won't take anything. I said, dude, you need to do that because 7%, like, let me just give you kind of an idea of how much money that is, right? Let's say let's just make the numbers easy. If you make $100,000 in a year, 7% of that is $7,000. You know how much $7,000 can do for your business? Like, dude, like, that is absolutely insane, right? So just imagine, you know, it won't feel like it's a lot because it's coming out every month. But if you add it up over a year, dude, they are taking you to the cleaners. You know, for $7,000, they're buying tires for their whole truck for free. You know, or see that people can't do cash flow. They don't have enough capital. They can't do cash flow. That's why they take these hits. That's why they are willing to pay a broker 2%, 3%, 7%, so they can get their money faster. But when you do that, you make so much less money, you cut yourself. You're basically putting yourself out of business. Oh, yeah, Robert. Congratulations, man. What state do you live in? So, honestly, I would not look for a broker. Like, okay, there's a couple brokers, I'm going to use that term lightly because they will find you work. But they don't really, in Washington, I would say we're a tighter community, and we're more like, hey, I'll find you work, but you got to give me your truck, basically. Like, dedicate your truck to me, and I'll find you work, and I'm just going to, $25 a day, or $25 a dispatch. That's how they are in Washington, a lot of the times. But if you sign on to work for somebody and they're taking 7% out of your paycheck,
Finally got to move.
forget it. That's highway robbery. 7%. I mean, people like Justin, that's all they make. On his 13 trucks, he only makes 7% profit. So imagine if he had to pay a dispatcher that 7% of all his money. Yeah, it'd be toast. Iowa. Okay, well, I can't really give you too much information about Iowa because I've never even been in Iowa. So I don't know any of the laws over there. But I'm sure a lot of the stuff is the same. You know, they have different bridge laws, I'm sure. I'm sure you can probably haul like 20 tons or some crazy, insane amount on a 10-wheeler, but not in Washington. But, yeah, so one thing you can do is just start getting knowledge. Start asking people questions. Especially, you know, but you got to find somebody who's old that knows what they're talking about, because a lot of young guys will just talk out there, you know, they don't know anything. You can't always take people's numbers 100% serious because, you know, it's like when I worked for somebody, I'd be like, hey, man, how much are you getting paid an hour? They would throw out a number. It's like, what? You're making $10 more an hour than me? There's no way. There's no way. And they're, you know, some of them are lying. Some of them are trying to make themselves look better. And, you know, you get that whole numbers game where people are trying to deceive people. I never really understood why people do that. But yeah, find an old guy that's about ready to retire and start asking him questions, man. If you gotta, you know, say, hey, man, let's go grab a beer, or hey, let's go grab, you know, something to eat, and just pick their brains. Ask them questions. so you can start learning, you know, these types of things I'm talking about. Things that are going to make your business have an advantage over somebody who just bought a truck without knowing nothing. You know, they're not going to like me. It's going to get dumped into the middle of the... Hey, maybe if I dump this dirt in the middle of the road, they won't park that truck there.
Yeah, really. I don't know where anybody is, man.
Union break, man. They're all gone.
Can you go off straight ahead?
What I would do, no, I think that does go around the building though, but I'm not 100% sure. But I've been backing into this gravel area over here and turning around in there.
Okay, I'll just wait for you to dump out.
They're not going to like this. But they're not really taking good care of this job site. Gotta be honest, they're not keeping up. Whoever's operating the loader, he's not keeping up.
You know, there's a certain job you don't like going to. I think this is one of them. No room for nothing.
Yeah, I like this job. It's just they're a little bit disorganized. I sub-haul for one company. It's pay 5%. I don't have to do paperwork, billing, etc. Nor do I have to find work or chasing my money. That's not. There are benefits to finding. You know, if you can latch on to the right company that does everything for you, sometimes it's worth it to pay the 5% or 7%. You know, if they're gonna use their DOT number, you're signing on to their insurance, you know, this and that, and you save so much time. Like, you don't have to find work, right? They're guaranteeing you work. You save a lot of money just in time, you know, and efficiency. So, hey, do you work for Greenscapes? Nope. Do you know any of the guys that work for Greenscapes around here? I got some paperwork. I mean, I don't have to give it to anybody, but I'd like to. They took union break or something. I don't know. Must be nice. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's worth it to, you know, just pay that out. You know. But here's the thing, though. It's kind of risky because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're putting all your eggs in one basket when you do that. You know, and I'm not saying it's going to end horrible for you, but, you know, sometimes there's a shelf life. I worked for an asphalt company almost primarily, and, you know, they owed me like $20,000 when I had one truck. That's a lot of money. That was a lot of money for me when I first started, and they were dragging me out, and they weren't paying, and then next thing you know, I was like, well, I need to get paid or my kids ain't getting Christmas presents, you know. Finally, I got paid, but it was just one of those things where it was just, you know, it kind of sucked. But anyways, guys, I'm going to catch you guys later. I'll do another live stream probably tomorrow on the whole subject, so I'll catch you guys later.